Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Modern Main Street episode 2. Today, we are going to be talking about why social media became a trap for local businesses. And this is a really important podcast because this is going to highlight some of the reasons why you may feel like you do. So, if social media actually worked the way it was promised, local businesses would not be this exhausted. Think about that. Think about that. So, you guys are showing up, and somehow it still doesn't feel like it's working. And it's not because you're doing anything wrong. This is a system problem, it is not a motivation problem. You are doing so much for your business. And today we're going to talk about why you may feel like social media has been a trap and it has taken over your life. Okay. So today, a lot of business owners feel a pressure to post constantly and be in front of their audience, and a pressure of if they stop, they fear what will happen. But even though you're doing those things, you're feeling invisible despite all the effort. Okay. And you feel guilty if you stop because you know that you need to be seen by more people, but you're afraid to stop because you don't know a way to get in front of the people any other way. So you fear of falling behind if you do stop. So for most business owners, social media quietly turned into a full time job that no one asked for. And I tell business owners all the time, you didn't go in business to be a social media manager. That's not why you went in business. You went in business because you wanted to do something that you love or are passionate about. Okay. So the problem with social media for most business owners is that social media subtly trains you to depend on it. Okay. And not just you, everybody. Okay. So the platform benefits from your reliance on it, not your stability. Okay. So you post, you wait, you hope, you hope something happens. You hope someone buys. You hope you have a new lead. You hope. Occasionally, spikes reinforce the behavior that you're exhibiting. Okay, so you go for that next adrenaline fix. Okay, but it's inconsistent rewards, and it feeds an addiction. Okay, just as an addict needs its next fix, you need your next successful post, or so you think. But you don't realize that you're dependent until you feel anxious for pulling away from it. And many business owners, I talk to so many business owners who rely so much on social media. They are afraid not to post on social media. They're afraid it will hurt their business. Most local businesses do not have a content problem, they have a control problem. So let me explain that. With social media, you do not own that relationship. Okay. And in 2026, it's going to be all about owning your, excuse me, guys. I'm getting over a cold, and obviously, I wasn't supposed to do this podcast without the interruption. So we will continue imperfectly. Thank you guys for bearing with me. So what I was saying is that you don't have a content problem, you have a control problem. You don't own the relationship, okay? The platform does. They control the algorithm, they make changes without notice, they pull back reach. So your reach fluctuates unpredictably. You cannot rely on reaching a certain amount of people every time you post or even with paid ads. The platforms optimize for their goals, not yours. Okay. So if visibility disappears overnight, what happens to your business? I want you to think about that. Anything you don't own can be taken away. And that statement solely represents the problem with social media. You don't own it. You don't own your followers. You don't own your posts. They could take, you don't even own your page or your platform. They can take it down at any time. So anything that you personally do not own can be taken away. And that is one of the big problems with social media because a lot of local business owners rely so heavily on it and they don't realize that it can go away overnight. The other issue that I want to talk about here is the illusion of activity versus progress. Okay. So movement is not momentum. Movement is not momentum. Okay. Just because you're doing something, just because you have activity, does not mean you're moving forward. Okay. So activity looks like posting regularly, creating reels, chasing trends, doing all the things that you've probably been doing. But progress looks like people remembering you, people coming back, and people trusting you. Social media creates emotion. Strategy creates direction. Okay? So being busy doesn't mean you're failing. It means you were given the wrong job. Remember, you didn't go into business to be a social media manager. You went in business to do what you love. Okay? So you're doing the wrong job. You're feeding the social media. So that being said, let's talk about what social media platforms are good for because I am definitely not saying don't be on social media. Okay. I rely on social media too. So let's just talk a little bit about what they're good for and what they're not good for. Okay. Things have changed so much over the past 10 years. Okay. When people started really being active on social media. So social media does have its job, but it is not everything. It is just part of the puzzle. Okay. So social media is good for awareness. That's how you reach people, that's how they find you. Reinforcement. So solidifying ideas and, being seen as an authority or a leader. Sorry, guys. And reinforcement, staying visible. Okay, staying visible. It gets you in front of them again and again and again. Okay, and it also helps to remind people that you actually exist. Okay, by getting in front of them. But what it is not good for is long term stability. Hence, the changing algorithms, the pullback in reach. Heck, years ago, I tried to build up my page on Facebook and I created, a decent following, not fantastic, but a decent following for somebody my business size. But over the years, they pulled back the visibility of the pages. Now you can't even share from your profile to your page anymore on Facebook. So you can't rely on that long term stability being there with the social media platforms. You also cannot rely on predictable growth. There's nothing predictable about social media. As we said, they create the rules for their agenda, not yours. Okay. And you also can't rely on owning the relationships that you establish there. Okay. Because they own them. So, therefore, you cannot carry your entire business on social media. It is not good to do that. And I see so many local business owners actually rely so heavily on social media. Okay. And I wanted to talk about this today because you guys are out there doing your thing, you're doing everything that you need to do. But you're struggling. You're overwhelmed. You can't keep up with it all. And that's because it was designed to do that. Okay. So the key point that I want you to take away right now is that social media should introduce you to your buying public, not sustain you. Social media should introduce you and not sustain you. Okay. So reframing social media in your business as a support system and not a foundation is extremely important in 2026 and going forward. I am really sorry, guys. I thought I could get through this podcast without this, but apparently it's just going to be real. It is live. So reframing social media as support and not the foundation for everything that you do. Use it to amplify and not replace. Okay, so this is how I want you to think about social media going forward. If you are a local business owner, the number one thing that you need is traffic. So use social media to drive traffic. Use social media to build trust. And use social media as a visibility layer. Okay? Drive traffic, trust builder, and visibility layer. And here is what it should support. Okay? And I want you to listen closely to this. It should support owned audiences. That's audiences that you own that are somewhere else on your email list, that are on your podcast, that listen to your podcast, audiences that you own. Okay. It should support them. Who are they? Okay. It should also support clear messaging. Your messaging has to be crystal clear, and that will attract more people that will come over to your owned audience. Okay. And I also, with everything today, consistent follow up is key. Follow up with everything that you do is so key today. So when social media supports a system that you put into place, it feels lighter. When it is the system, it feels exhausting because it's all you do. Trust me, guys. I've been there, done it. I used to post all day, every day. Today in 2026, this is not going to work. Okay. You have to use it as a support. Okay. So, what does stable visibility look like? Okay, let's talk about stable visibility. Okay, because you got to be in front of your people. Okay, but what does the stable visibility look like? Stability comes from repetition and ownership. Repetition and ownership. Okay, and stability includes being remembered. Being remembered. You want to be remembered. You want to be trusted. You want to be easy to find. That means your brand has to be known and trusted on all the platforms that you exist. Doesn't mean you have to be on all the platforms. It just means you need to be easy to find on the platforms that you're on. So, what that means for you is you need to have the same message repeated over and over and over. That consistent same message. You need to have multiple touch points, okay? And you need to have a predictable presence. That means that you need to be consistent with your actions. That creates that predictability that people come to expect. So I'm going to tell you guys, I've been sick for over a week now, and I really wanted to come in and do this second episode of this podcast, but I've been sick. But today is the day that I had a deadline for. So I am in here doing this podcast regardless. I'm providing value, although it's not perfect because I'm sick. But I am showing up. I'm delivering for my audience. So that is what you need to do. Businesses that feel calm about marketing aren't posting more. They're relying less on one platform. And I'm relying a lot less on one platform. The platform that I used to rely on a lot is Facebook. That's where my whole audience was built on, my main audience. And that's where, in my business that I had before, that is where every single client came from, Facebook. But things change, and you need to change, and I need to change. And we need to move forward with what's going to work now. And relying on social media too heavily is not going to work now. So, relax about the marketing, relax about what you think you need to post, and let's focus on what you really need to do to bring awareness to your business, to bring people over to an audience that you own, and how to do that. Because depending on social media is risky. Dependency equals risk. So what happens if the social media platform disappears and you have no access to your audience, no control over the communication, and no backup plan? 2026 is the year that you had better have that in place, because 2026 is a game changer all around. Things are happening very quickly in the marketplace, and I want to help you to be prepared for that. But if social media platforms disappear and you don't have access to those things, you have no backup plan, you have no control over the communication, and your audience is gone overnight, that is not marketing. It's vulnerability. And I want to help you to build something that is not vulnerable. Okay, something that you own, something that you can be proud of and move forward confidently with your marketing. So, some final thoughts. You do not need to quit social media. No, I don't want you to do that, because you still need social media. Okay. I am not bashing social media. I love social media. I have been on there for about 13 years with my business, and I love social media. Okay. You don't need to post more. So don't stress yourself out with figuring out what you need to post. You need to put social media in its proper place, okay? As a support mechanism for the pieces of your business that you actually own, okay? So it's a support system. So inside the local growth hub, that's exactly what we focus on, building marketing that feels stable and not stressful. So, if you're listening to this podcast, I would love to invite you over there. We go deeper. I'm going to start having more live trainings in there. And I have a class I actually want to get put in there. Right now, the group is free, and some of the material will be free. Okay. There will be some paid material in the group. I don't have any in there as of right now. But it is a place for local business owners to get all of their marketing questions answered, to get the support that you need without paying huge fees to an advertising agency who's not going to get you the results that you were looking for. Okay. I want to give you a place where you can call home, where you can come to and get the answers that you need and get the support that you need with all of the changes that are happening, because the changes are happening really quickly, and 2026 is going to be a pivotal year. So I want to give you a place where you can come and you can really build a home, get your questions answered, and get the support that you need. So inside the local growth hub, that's exactly what you'll find, and you'll have access to me in there. So I am inviting you to join the local growth hub. It is in my links. And if I can put a comment under the podcast, I will definitely do that. But I would love to see you in there. If you have any thoughts on social media, I would love to hear them, because social media, like I said, you don't need to quit social media. I don't want you to. You do need it. But I want you to think about social media differently going forward, and don't put all of your effort into it. Okay. And I want to help you to build systems and processes that will help you to create ownership in your business and move forward. Okay. So join the local growth hub if you want that. And again, this is episode 2 of Modern Main Street. I called it Modern Main Street because it is all about Main Street businesses, local businesses. And modern, you have to be up to date with what's going on in the marketplace right now. And, so you have to really know. So Modern Main Street is a way for you, podcast is a way for you to stay up to date. And I'm going to, my goal is to do one podcast a week. So like I said, I came on here today. I was sick, but and I do apologize for the coughing, but I really do appreciate you. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope you will follow Modern Main Street podcast going forward, because I have so much more to bring you. Thank you for watching.